Samara Martinez here with Citlali Romo. Thank you for joining us this early morning.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great final stretch of the semester.
So yesterday was a very important day.
I know. Did you watch the eclipse?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Me too.
Not like I walked outside out of work. I just kind of walked out. I put myself off calls and everything, and I walked out to look at it, me and my brother. It was hard because the dogs were like, everyone was outside of my neighborhood, so everyone wanted to see. So it was just kind of like, oh, well, we have to figure that out.
I know. It was like our class started at 2:00, so the eclipse thing was like between like
at that time?
2 and 2:11. So we definitely we stood outside for a little bit just to watch it, and it was cool. I brought my pair of glasses. I was so tempted to look at the sun without my glasses, but I was not going to do that to myself.
It was so hard because like at one point I was just like,
I know.
Like, should I just take a look up? But let's get started with some of our trending topics.
With tweet number 1.
Okay, this was actual representation of me yesterday. I just kind of walked out of work and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go see it. And I'm literally standing there with my brother and we're going like this and we're just like staring up at the clouds. And I just started laughing because when I saw this, everyone makes memes about everything, but the moment I saw this, I started cracking up because I was like, this was literally me and my brother yesterday. We both work from home. So it was just like we were looking and we were just staring up at the sky and I was just holding him like this and it was like...
It's so funny because of all the memes yesterday, this is one of the ones that I came across too. And it was like, that's literally how we all look. Like
this is how everyone looked. My whole neighborhood, there were workers like next door and they were just like holding and I was cracking up. But this picture cracked me up because he was so into it.
I thought it was a nice moment though because everyone just kind of comes together and it's like, we're all just paying attention to the one thing.
Yeah, because it's, 20 years to the next one. So it's huge.
I'm going to be 43 maybe.
Don't tell me how old. Your tweet now. No, we're talking about this.
So mine was a clip to a little compilation of the pictures that somebody took with their iPhone, or I'm not sure what phone, but I just thought it was really cool because look, you get to see like
the transition.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see this, but it's okay. I just still thought it was so cool because I was like, oh my gosh.
It was like phenomenal. One of my friends actually, she went to Carbondale and Carbondale got it like really, really like big.
Yeah.
Or like I should say like it fully covered and she like posted it on her story of like how dark it got.
Really?
And then somebody had posted literally this photo like of it. So I was just like, that's so cool because we didn't get to experience that, but like some parts of Illinois did.
It definitely though, because yesterday was nice. It was beautiful outside. It was like what, high 70 or
it was about
low
70. Yes.
But it was when the eclipse thing happened. It was super cold. I was like, okay.
Oh yeah. So it was really cool, and it got dim really cool. But on to my next tweet. So March Madness is officially over in UConn. They went back to back. They won last year. Now they won this year again. They beat Purdue, and Purdue has some guys that are definitely going to the NBA. So it was really cool to see just kind of UConn take over because they had a slow start. But I just thought it was really cool. March Madness is officially over. College basketball's kind of done, and now all the drafts are going to take place. So it's just really cool to see the transition because they're all like our age right now.
Oh, really?
Lali.
College students. I'm like, wait a minute. I was going to ask though, UConn is where's that?
Connecticut.
There we go.
They're in Connecticut. And they were seeded number 1 this entire tournament, and they took it home. So it was really, really cool to see.
That's cool. Is there any of the players that you're like, they definitely have to go to the NBA?
I don't know, because they're kind of young. There's one player that might get drafted, but Purdue, if anything, had a couple that were like
for sure
gonna go
in the league.
They're out of here.
On to my next tweet. Elephants. I love my little elephants. They're not little, but I learned that elephant feet are flat because of a large pad of gristle under each heel. And this is a video, but when you in the video he shows like he's patting the elephant's like bottom of the foot, and it's soft, like it's cushiony, so it kind of goes in. But if in here it says they can hear with their feet, picking up noises which register low frequency rumbles up to 20 miles away. And because of the padding of their foot, it kind of allows them to like move quieter, because of how big they are. They move a lot less quiet than they not should, but than you would think because of how big they are. Right.
That's crazy. I didn't know
you would
that.
hear like.
Well, then they live in Africa, so it's all dirt. So for them, it's probably like
they need it. They needed to survive.
That's so cool. But TikTok time.
I know, my favorite part.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
The 2020 women's college basketball recruitment class might go down as one of the most impressive recruitment classes of all time.
I've been seeing stuff about
five-star
her
recruits
lately.
who have all
So
lived up to
all
the
of
hype
these
and
are going
made
to the
massive
WNBA
noise in
besides
March
her.
Madness throughout their careers, and especially
Angel Reese, right?
this season. We have 3 national champions out of this group. Cameron, Angel, and Camilla. 3 are going to be playing in the Final Four this weekend. Again, Camilla, Caitlin, and Paige, where one of them will probably go on to be a national champion. I don't know if we've ever seen dominance like this from a recruitment class, and I don't know if we will ever see this many 5 stars live up to the hype.
Weren't these two like
Regardless,
against
women's
each other?
basketball is in a great
last
place,
year.
and I'm
Last year?
excited to see these girls take
See,
it to
I'm
the
a
next
little bit
level.
familiar with what's going on here.
So I really liked it. I mean, I've always kept up with basketball, but like it's crazy to see like those 5 girls specifically because they're all class of 2020.
Nice.
So like they're all graduating. One of them, like they all decided, like the majority of them are just going straight to the WNBA draft, which is next week. So it's just really cool to see like there's kids our age that are like so talented and they're going out there. So that was my TikTok.
Exciting. I'm excited to hear more from you. On to my next TikTok.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
I love my babies and I love EDM. So look at this.
Up and down, up and down, up and down.
It's the hand for me.
He's going in. I love this video when I seen it. And it was so funny because I had came across it and I sent it to my sister, and then all my friends sent it to me too. And I was like, this has to be my video because look at the little baby. He's just so excited.
The drop of the water
I
bottle.
know,
And then
he's like,
the
no.
2 of
He's like,
them.
the beat hasn't dropped yet. But yeah, that was my favorite one.
Oh, that is so funny.
It was super
Ooh,
funny.
Look at us having great TikToks. But it's time to share some feel-good stories sure to brighten your day. So is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's an insanely expensive comic book. This isn't your average comic. It's Action Comic #1, the issue that introduced Spider-Man in 1938, Thursday. It sold at Heritage Auction for $6 million. The sale breaks its own world record. A copy of the same comic sold privately in 2022 for $5.3 million. The previous auction record was Amazing Fantasy number 15, which featured the debut of Spider-Man that sold for $3.6 million.
A Navy veteran from Milwaukee received a surprise gift on Friday. David Wujcik has a roof over his head, but it has a desperate need of repair, and he could not afford it to replace it. That's when Habitat for Humanity and Owens Corning Roof Deployment Project, which gives new roofs to veterans, stepped in to help. They selected Wujcik to receive a new roof. Workers with the local roofing company got the job done, and Wujcik is very grateful. He served 7 years in the Navy. He was a military photojournalist. Wujcik says he has a very limited income, so getting this new roof is special.
So head on over to your local library and thank the staff who work there. Today, April 9th, is National Library Workers' Day. The holiday takes place on the Tuesday of National Library Week. Library workers are masters of research and creativity. They can help you find the right resources for a school paper and polish up your resume. Library staff are also known for fun ways to encourage reading among children. Despite their importance, libraries constantly seek their budgets shrink. So it's a good time to thank the enterprising people who are doing so much with less.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my 3rd child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
It is a new day for jobs and careers, and the skills needed to compete are rapidly changing. This is why more students are choosing Lewis University. Lewis prepares you for emerging opportunities in some of the most highly sought after fields. Higher education is the most crucial investment you can make in your future. Lewis provides you with a lasting education that will launch you towards success today and strong growing careers of tomorrow. Begin an education that will pay dividends for a lifetime. Learn more at lewisu.edu.
Today I'm here with Marty Philippian, an associate professor of English Studies at Lewis University. He has a passion for literature and a commitment to inclusive education. And today he joins us to talk about the book he co-edited, Inclusive Shakespeare, Identity, Pedagogy, and Performance. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for
having me.
coming
Yes.
today.
Yes, it's great to be here. I have to admit, I'm a little down because my beloved Boilermakers lost last night in the national championship game, but
it's okay.
I'll get through it.
Right? Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
What motivated you to co-edit the book?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but given time constraints, I'll try to keep it brief. But in the early 2000s, my two sons, Sam and Oliver, were diagnosed with autism, and I didn't really know anything about autism at the time. And so I just shifted all my reading. I dropped everything I was working on as a new professor and started reading about autism and eventually something called neurodiversity, which was a concept I was not familiar with. And slowly over time, of course, my wife and I have realized, well, in our small ways, we can kind of leverage our skill set, we're both teachers, to try and help raise awareness about autism and the experiences of people on the spectrum. And so that's the primary origin of the book. And then, of course, conversations with colleagues on the same topic led to a partnership.
So speaking more on your personal experience, what was your experience working with the other co-editors? What did you learn?
They're tremendous people, firstly, and I know them through the Shakespeare Association of America. That's where I first met both of them. And at some point, I think it was about 2017, 16, somewhere around there, one of the co-editors, Sonia Freeman Loftus, who's a distinguished professor at Morehouse, she said, Marty, we should do a book. And I thought, well, that'd be wonderful.
Right.
And then, you've got other projects in the pipeline, and so you got to figure out, okay, when does this one get into the sequence? And so we kind of hatched the abstract and the call for papers, as we say, in about 2020, and deployed that. And a lot of people responded with great scholarship and great work that is both informative, but also a kind of advocacy, which is exactly what we wanted for the volume.
How did you feel when it came down to finalizing your work? When did you know you're like, this is it? This is what will be published?
Yeah, so it's a long process. Of course, you get more essays than you can include. That, from an editor's point of view, is a good thing. If you're a scholar and you submit something and it doesn't get picked up or included, that's a little bit frustrating. And I was at a dinner at Paisano's couple weeks ago in Chicago, and I ran into one of the people who wanted to contribute to the volume, and I had never met him before. He just happened to be at this event, and we talked about that. We didn't pick up his essay. It was good, but it just didn't quite fit the kind of scope and shape. And he ended up publishing it somewhere else, so that's great. But choosing the essays is difficult because they're all well done in most cases. So it's not really an issue of quality, it's how well do they address the topic. And when you're dealing with something like Shakespeare and inclusivity, it can be pretty broad. So if you only have maybe 14 essays to include, you want to make sure that each one is doing something a little bit different in terms of inclusivity. So you have an essay on inclusivity of deaf patrons and performers in Shakespeare theaters, an essay on translating Richard III for Latin American audiences, and so on.
And it has to kind of like just, of course, flow together.
Yes,
obviously.
yeah. I mean, they are standalone chapters, but in the introduction to the volume, you try to make clear as the editors, here's why these are in here. And so if you were to read the intro, you'd see that we do that.
When going back to how I mentioned working with your co-editors, did you learn anything from them that you didn't know prior to?
Well, yeah, you know, I would say just generally, because they are expert readers and very sensitive to the issues that the book is concerned with, I picked up a lot of nuance that I had not noticed before. And the same is true from reading the essays that are in the volume and editing those and you know, communicating back and forth with the authors. I learned quite a lot about a number of plays by Shakespeare and other playwrights, actually, contemporary playwrights that I hadn't seen before. And so, you know, anytime you do this kind of work, it's a profound learning experience because you are being taught by the people whose work you are trying to edit.
Right. That's interesting. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing, actually.
Yeah.
So one of the editors, Jill Bradbury, who is a deaf Shakespeare
Scholar. Yes.
gives some examples for inclusivity for the deaf in theaters in her essay. Can you give some examples about what she writes about?
Yeah, so her essay is the first essay in the volume. And first of all, I was so thrilled that she contributed an essay. And she works very efficiently and smartly, and she's impressive, let me just say. But at any rate, you know, her essay is concerned with making performance spaces, so theaters primarily, they could be indoor or outdoor, and performances, so the actual you know, actors, or as in Shakespeare's day they would say players, on the stage, using sign language and symbols in a way that includes a deaf audience who knows that language and knows those symbols, even though a hearing audience might not. And so her point is, just include it, and in this way it begins to, first of all, make the theater-going experience more accessible for a deaf audience, but also it raises the hearing audience's awareness that there are different kinds of embodiment in the world, biological diversity of one kind or another, that can influence in positive ways performances and the design of performance spaces.
So in the plays that you were talking about, they're using sign language, like within the play, or it's just more of like it's the play and then there's people outside just translating.
Well, it goes in two different ways. So sometimes you have somebody downstage, just in the front, if it's a thrust stage. This is getting kind of technical, but anyway, or somebody to the left or the right who's signing. And in those cases, you know, a theater director, not the director of the play, but the director of
the theater?
The facility, yeah, the theater. They need to make sure that the sight lines are clear, right? Otherwise, the deaf audience can't see the signing. But the other thing that you mentioned is signing in the play itself. And that's been going on for a good 15 years or so. And in fact, I saw now a very famous production of Hamlet at the Oregon Shakespeare Theater in 2010. And Hamlet's father, the ghost, who comes back on stage in Act 1, is deaf, and he's signing all the dialogue.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember thinking, wow, I did not realize how amazing this was going to be for me to just think through all the complexities of what's happening right now. And then Hamlet, the person playing the role, I forget his name, he's a great actor, but he was signing back and kind of dialoguing over the sign language for the hearing audience.
Oh wow, that's
it was really
cool.
It was really interesting.
Have you seen Hamlet before without?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah.
That must
That's
have been a
standard
different experience, right?
Yeah.
You state in the book the most effective inclusion occurs in the community. What does that mean to you?
Yes. Well, it you know, in a word, it's everything. It really is. If an audience understands, if a community understands, rather, what is happening with a particular member of the community's embodiment. So maybe they are deaf, or they have autism, or they're blind or something. And the community, loves this person, wants them to be included. They will find ways to make their lived experience more meaningful by joining with them in some form of community. So the example of Jill Bradbury's essay is trying to do just that. So it's not just a form of scholarship in the case of these essays, but it's also a form of advocacy that sees community as central to achieving anything like inclusivity.
Thank you. How did you believe this book contributes to the ongoing discourse surrounding diversity and representation in Shakespeare literature and performance?
Well, I hope that it makes a important contribution in the moment. Books come and go, and
books are here.
They're here, yeah.
But I definitely do understand the going part.
Yeah, people say, "Well, we read that, and what's next?" So I hope at least for the short term, people can take some knowledge and inspiration away from the volume that will help them think through ways in which the teaching of Shakespeare in a university classroom or a high school classroom, for example, the performance of Shakespeare in some kind of public space, and the reading of Shakespeare as a way of better understanding our individual identities. I hope that resonates with Shakespeare scholars in particular and other audiences who are interested in this topic, such that they really consider ways of tweaking what they're doing already to make sure that the diverse range of human experience represented in a classroom, for example, or a theater, is addressed in some meaningful way, so that people feel, yes, I'm glad I came. They're inviting me to be part of this experience.
Right. I know you had, in the previous question, you mentioned how if a community loves a certain, like an individual, they would try to accommodate to that individual. It shouldn't have to be, in my opinion, like just that specific person. It should be everyone, to consider everyone, so that everyone just can come in and feel welcomed as well.
Yeah, I think it really does begin community with some kind of one-on-one. At least in my experiences, and as I've talked a few minutes ago about how I came to be interested in inclusivity and neurodiversity in particular, so concerned with the experiences of people on the spectrum, among others. That started because I had a relationship with my sons, and from there it grew to meeting other people in the autism community who had relationships with their children. Then we all had relationships, sharing ideas, information, ways of communicating to the outside world, to our inside world. So the community builds, but it started with the one relationship. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. I would say it starts one way, but the goal is what you described.
To get everyone involved, correct? Thank you. Yes. So what do you hope readers will take away from Inclusive Shakespeare?
Everything we've been talking about, hopefully. I hope that people see it's a pretty expansive set of essays that are in their individual contributions, powerfully suggestive about the different ways in which, as you say, community can be achieved through participating in Shakespeare in some form, either being an actor, participating in a community or university or professional theater production, doing behind the scenes work in a theater where you're trying to accommodate different kinds of lived experiences, whether it's a deaf audience or some other kind of audience. And I hope that, in particular, colleagues in Shakespeare studies around the world would say, I'm going to take a look at this and I'm going to see what they're talking about. And most people in Shakespeare are well aware of the larger kind of umbrella topic of disability in Shakespeare, or of class as a topic that's related to Shakespeare. My contribution to the volume has to do with being a first-generation college student, and how class played a role that I felt very viscerally, I guess, as a brand new college student who didn't understand that world at all. So I hope that that's what scholars take away is, I'm going to think more carefully about who's in my classroom and what I can do to tease out of the text conversations about identity in its various forms, and in so doing, make people feel welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
That was very good for you. And no, honestly, everything that you shared is really good. Especially oh my gosh, I forgot. I did it. It is National Autism Awareness Month too, so it is very important to talk about it, even when it isn't, that month, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And hopefully everyone does read your book. I actually, my godmother in California, I sent it out to her last week when I was running into the questions.
Wonderful.
Because she's really into same thing. She advocates for autism.
Okay.
Because my cousin is he's autistic.
Okay.
And she does a lot for the community. So I'm like,
great.
Read this book.
Oh, wonderful.
There's so much to do.
Yeah, and there is a lot in here also on gender identity, which we didn't have time to talk about. So it's a pretty rich collection. But that's great that you sent it to her. I hope she enjoys it.
Thank you. I hope so too. I know she will let me know for sure. She
good.
does. But thank you for joining in with us today. It was nice meeting you. And
you as well.
It was nice hearing you share your experience with the book.
Well, thank you.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
What are you looking for?
I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org.
Well, that is it for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Good Morning Lewis.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.